Hi guys. So I invite you to join and hang out with me. I'll be practicing some stuff which I hope I'll be recording tomorrow. And if not, it's all good anyway, because it's cool stuff to practice. Of course, it's made a little bit harder by the weather here in Stockholm, Sweden. I need to wear this jacket just because it's so freaking cold. It's supposed to be summer, but look what happened to summer. That's okay though, we're used to that in Sweden. But it just struck me that, this jacket is really in the way for strumming here. Now it works. So I haven't recorded, clean stuff in quite a while. Or I have, but the chordal stuff and my attempt at doing something more like neo soul modern. Of course, I'm not really a jazz guy, so I can't really do this stuff, but I do enjoy kind of improvising around with chords, and that's a really interesting technique, I think, and I'd like to get better at it. So one way to get better at it is actually to kind of compose something you wish you had improvised. It can seem a little counterproductive, but it's a good way to practice transitions and stuff like that. And often I find myself, if I do that and then a couple of months later, I notice that those things start sneaking into my playing. So it's really, you're playing the long game with that kind of thing, but I think it's well worth it, because the big advantage, I think, with writing your own kind of mini etudes as opposed to just learning someone else's material is that you're directly shaping your own original style. So if you'd rather, learn someone else's material, that's fine, and we all do that in the beginning. But it's just interesting that even without having any improvisation shops or anything like that, you can still work your way in that direction just by composing. Anything you put together that's your choice and not someone else's song, that's gonna have you all over it, and it's pretty awesome. I like that. In fact, I was never really good at learning other people's material, not even when I started out. I would learn like a few riffs here and there, but I never had the patience to learn a song. I think that goes down to me not being super interested in like doing the classic rock and roll band thing. For me, was always the creative part that fascinated me, not the image part, not the, sweating in clubs or, warm buses, that kind of thing. Never really intrigued me. But the music did, right? So, and I always liked rock and metal, so I don't know. Anyhow, so I learned pieces of songs, pieces of riffs, small pieces of content, musical content. And I just chose like the part of the solos that I really, really liked. Even though I would consider it, like a cool long solo, I still, couldn't bother myself learning the whole thing. So I always just took pieces of it. And I don't really mind that. I like that I did that. The downside is kind of obvious. You don't learn, how should I say? I always struggled with, like getting a feel for how different, periodicity in music, if that's a thing. That was always tricky for me. I think I'm better at it now, but I think I would have gotten some of that for free if I had been better at learning tunes. But on the upside, even though sometimes what I recorded was a bit shaky in terms of bars and stuff like that, I always think that what I recorded had something original to it. I'm not saying it sounds good, I'm just saying it was unique, and that's what I wanted. Of course, I want it to sound good as well, but that can come later, as you refine your art. And that's what I'm trying to do here, trying to refine my art. And believe it or not, I'm a little bit warmer now. I like it. So. So that's not the typical thing I would do, but you know, when you're playing unamplified, and like I'm doing now, I'm playing outside, you really have to you have to work hard to squeeze some volume out of the guitar. So can't do the, you know, the legato thing here outside. It doesn't work. So you have to think different. You have to think in terms of dynamics and chords and oh. Sean, how many pentatonic shapes have I memorized? So if you mean the 5 pentatonic scale positions, I've memorized them all. So you have the first one. I think I'm out of tune. So those I've memorized them a long time ago, and I have the whole thing on the fretboard laid out for me. But if you're thinking about like pentatonic licks and stuff like that, I don't know. I stopped counting licks and things like that for a long time ago, and I kind of made sure that on a daily basis I would kind of combine the licks I mastered to create new ones. So I constantly got new ones. And I think that was a necessity for me in order not to get bored by, you know, playing. I mean, it's, don't get me wrong, it's awesome to start with licks and shapes and stuff like that, but I think the more advanced you get, the more you need to challenge yourself in terms of either, you know, using your licks in solos, or the path I chose was more of a, you know, using the licks I learned to improvise, and then as I improvise, come up with even more licks. So I think a lot of times when I jam away, my favorite licks in there, they probably are derived from some, you know, classic rock lick, but then I've altered it over and over, so you can't even recognize it anymore. There's a bit of wind here. I hope you guys can see and hear me properly, or the playing, I guess, is not too loud. But you have my playing very loud all over the channel, so I figured if for once you can't hear me that well, it shouldn't matter that much. Sue, what's up, my man? How you doing? So if you're not that comfortable, you know, jamming around with chords, like more fancy stuff up here, what you can do is obviously just grab your power chords and play them up here, and that's what I did here. This is just, it's a power chord. I really want to pursue being a musician and I'm playing the guitar. Should I learn the shapes? Very cool, Sean. That's a cool question. So, I mean, it totally depends, totally depends on, what kind of musician you see yourself being. If you wanna play, like a lot of times, the quickest way to earn some bucks in actual playing music, if you're not teaching, then it's actually to, perform maybe in like a cover band or something like that. And if you're in a cover band, I would say learning a few pentatonic shapes can be very useful, as that can help you kind of move around and jam and be able to provide maybe some improvised solos. But in most cases, for that kind of scenario, what you really need is learning songs. You got to know all those songs, and you got to know them well. You got to play them well, and you got to be somewhat comfortable with dial in a suitable sound for each song. I would say that's the number one thing, if we look strictly at the guitar playing aspect of things. But then we have, the kind of the marketing aspect of things as well. I mean, you have to sell your band, sell your musical services to the clubs or wherever you want to play. That's a different thing, of course. And we have the social part where you need to, find band members and team that works well. But I wouldn't say that, just isolate pentatonic shapes and practice them. I wouldn't say that that is a game changer in becoming a professional musician. I mean, the path is pretty long, so I think the best bet is to actually practice and play the stuff that intrigues you, because that's what you're going to do well. If you love the idea of being able to play all over the fretboard, then yes, you should learn those pentatonic boxes. That's an important step in doing that. So if you practice the things you love, you'll get good at it, and you will find your place sooner or later in a professional setting. And these days it could really be anything. You could be recording artist, not leaving your home studio. You could be teaching, content creator, whatever. And the path to those goals are never straight. But I would say the common denominator for all the people who actually have success is that they do what they dream of doing, and they enjoy the journey. So just because I tell you, well, the quickest way to learn lots of songs so you can play in a cover band, that doesn't mean that this path is right for you. On the contrary, if you're like me, then that won't work at all. I started learning those pentatonic boxes because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't really care if that would make me a professional guitarist or not. I just wanted to do it. So I think that's also part of the reason why I managed to play it and I got good at it, because I love doing it. Okay, I think I missed a question there. Sue from Indonesia, you're a great guitarist. Thank you, from Stockholm, Sweden. Very happy to hear that, man. How much pressure do I need to put in playing guitar? I am struggling with my pick handling. Cool question, Lloyd. So if you're putting pressure in the right hand, or maybe you're referring to pressure holding the pick, neither of those are very good, I would say. It's tempting to hold the pick really hard because maybe you've lost the pick when you're playing, whatever. But typically a really cramped up grip is actually going to make it easier to lose the pick. And the reason being, if you have a relaxed grip, you're going to subconsciously learn to kind of adjust your grip if the pick slides a little bit. But if you're cramping up, trust me, as soon as the pick has moved a little bit, and it will, then you're screwed. You can't find a good way without letting go of your cramped grip to get the pick back. So I wouldn't say holding the pick hard is ever a good idea. And if you're referring to the actual picking motion, there are a few instances where you need to cramp up. But I would say if you're just starting out and you're cramping up or putting really a lot of pressure into your picking, then there's a good 99% chance you shouldn't be doing that, okay? Because the use cases for a really stiff grip are very small, and it's not something you should be practicing intensely as a beginner. So just to give you a simpler answer, in 99% of all cases, you should be relaxed. Your pick with your hand, with your left hand. That's the way to go about it. If you start being relaxed, you're going to get a good technique. And the few instances where you do need to apply a bit more pressure, tense up, you're going to have no problems with that. However, the opposite is not true. If you're constantly used to being tensed up and cramping up, you'll have huge problems playing relaxed, and even more importantly, you will have problems just learning anything new. May it be in guitar or anything physical, it applies to any sport. I mean, if you cramp up, if you tense up, you're screwed, Yeah, I would say the general answer is definitely don't cramp up. Don't apply too much pressure. It should be a relaxed game. Ah, my jackets, really. So I think I'm a little bit tensed up than I typically am here, and it's because I'm a bit not used to playing unamplified like this with a clean tone and trying to make it sound for you guys. That's part of the reason why I'm sitting here as well. I want to kind of improve on that because I really would like to get recording some cleaner stuff. We'll see if I can do that. If you've been following my stuff, you know that I've almost exclusively been playing pretty much high gain lead guitar for the last couple of months, which I of course love, but it's one of the things I always recommend students who want to broaden their horizons, or maybe if they don't want to do that, they just want to expand on their style. And I keep telling them, well, if you try new styles, even if it's something totally out of your range, if it's something you'll never use, just by doing so, you will get perspective on, the styles you're typically working on, and you will play differently, and you will get new inspiration, even if you don't borrow anything from that other style. It might sound weird, but that's how a lot of times that's how we progress, when we get perspective on things we do. And for me, that's definitely true for playing different styles of music, playing cleaner, playing bluesier. That really helps me add, not necessarily replicate the exact chord shapes in my high gain lead playing, but for one, the technical side of things, if you practice these stretchy stuff, all of a sudden doing something stretchy when soloing gets easier. And also just the way you might typically play a chord by arpeggiating, and then you kind of translate that to maybe your pentatonic, and you find yourself kind of borrowing from these different inspirations, even though the paths never really cross, but it's still super useful. I don't know if this makes sense, but I'm really reaping the benefits of this on a daily basis. And not only that, but I've done it so much so that I actually get bored if I stick to just practicing high gain shred for weeks. I can't do that. I can do it for a few days if I have something I want to record or something like that, but then I immediately have to take a break from the shredding and play something different. I've just learned that's just how I've come to practice, always kind of moving sideways between different things. So it might not seem like the straightest path to walk, but it's a good one. It's a very good path. And usually the straight paths are not really good either. And also something else I found is, which I think is interesting, just speaking of playing in a way you're not used to. So for example, I'm not really used to doing what I'm doing now, just playing unamplified, and I don't do that too often. And what I find when I play like this is it becomes less noodling. So you immediately hear if what you're playing does not carry any like melodic idea or musical idea. If it's just your, your up and down scale. And when I'm play amplified, I find it's much easier to just fall into that, playing a scale up and down, which after all is insanely boring. I mean, it can be okay for practicing, but out here that doesn't work. So it's more like, yeah, you have to. What you're playing has to be something you can somewhat hum, otherwise it's just useless. You wouldn't want to hear me play this, I think. That's not that interesting. Cool, Lloyd. That's a really cool description there. The smoothness and bravery of those licks. Very cool. Love that description. Thanks, man. Bravery. Yeah, maybe they're a little bit brave. so you can't. If you mess up a fast run and just mess up the ending, then it just sounds like a really poorly done show off. So that's a no-no. So that's why it's a good idea to practice. I don't know how I ended up just sweeping all over the place. I was supposed to play clean chords. It just goes to show what I naturally gravitate towards if nothing is stopping me. Here I thought that, okay, if I play a Telecaster unamplified, then probably I will not shred. But no, that didn't work. That kind of thing is something I really need to practice, more like a percussive. Cool, guys. So thanks so much for tuning in. It's been lovely hanging with you this evening, and I hope we're gonna do it soon again. Have a good one. See ya. Cheers.